Hi guys, this is Simeon from Swedish Homestead. In today's video I want to talk about pressure treated wood and an alternative for that is accessible to anybody. We live in Sweden, and where we live this far north, it is not very common with oak trees. A little further north there are no more oak trees at all, and so you can't really use a tree like oak to make fence posts because it would just be way too expensive. You want to use what is available naturally, and today through all the hardware stores, pressure treated wood is really something that has become available easily. But I don't like this for several reasons. Sometimes you have to use it, but for example for garden borders and stuff, I don't use it because the poison out of these, they leak. Not only are they expensive, but the poison leaks. And right now, for example, I'm going to wash my hands after I work with pressure treated wood. So is there an alternative that even here where we live, where we don't have oak trees, for example, or other varieties of wood that really last for a long time, is there an alternative for us that we can use for example, garden borders or pressure for fence posts like this? Here you see a fence that you have seen on quite a bunch of my videos, and a lot of people have asked if I can show how to build a fence like this and what we have used. And here you see we haven't used any pressure treated wood in this fence, and I'm going to show you in a second what we have been using here. But first let me share real quick what is available and what people have used before pressure treated wood was available here. In our climate where the oak trees don't grow and other trees, people have been using spruce for construction for a long time. For log houses they have used pine trees, but for building the fences, I don't know if you're familiar with these typical old Swedish fences that were built pretty much throughout the whole country. They have been using spruce trees about this size for the fence posts and also for the horizontal fencing. And you know, if you would use the kind of spruce trees that grow today at most places, they wouldn't last for very long at all. But if you want to do this, you use spruce trees where this kind of thickness has been grown quite shady, very slow for a long time, and this size would maybe be 20 years old or older, and it would just be super tough. And because it is so old but only this thick, it would last for a very long time. Another alternative that people have used is when they would use construction lumber, even that they didn't want to get old or something. I've heard from the old timers that they used to climb up on the pine trees and damage them on the top. Because of the damage, the plant would just start pumping up some chemical mixture. I don't know how you pronounce this really in English, or if this is the right word. Resin maybe? I'm not sure, but anyway, the whole tree would get full of that stuff, and to protect itself and protect the wound. And then when you would harvest the tree the next year, all the lumber would be full of that, and it lasts forever. We have actually worked with pine beams and construction lumber that we have found, that we have opened, that was like over 100 years old, was in perfect condition. Well, not everybody has that available, not everybody has this available. So what we wanted to try some 4 or 5 years ago when we built this fence here is something else. Now these fence posts that you see here behind me, they're made out of aspen, and anybody that is watching this right now who knows something about aspen knows that it doesn't last for very long outside if it's continuously moist, and especially in the ground and connected to the ground. Now one really interesting aspect that we have to understand also when we talk about fence posts is that it doesn't rot above the ground that quickly, and it doesn't rot inside the ground so quickly. Where it rots the most is really right where it enters the ground. That's where it's moist, dry, and so on, where it's the most exposed. So this fence is like 5 years old or something, and my parents built this, and what they did is They took this aspen fence post and they burned it on the tip. And this is how people have done it and used to do it before pressure treated wood was available. And by burning it like this, you kind of get a thin layer of coal out here, and that really is, you know, that won't rot. The bacteria won't go into that fence post. Now, one thing that is absolutely key to this method working is that you do this the right way. You see, this one here is not burned enough. I don't think this will work, and that's the question. When we built this fence, that was our first time doing this, and it was a test, so we really had to see if this works or not. And if you look at it now, it's cracking a little bit, so you need to burn this enough. And I think one key to that is to really let this dry before you burn it. We also harvested these fence posts, and then they were quite moist still, and we burned it right away, and that didn't work so well. But otherwise, I think this is a beautiful alternative for pressure treated wood. It's cheap. You know, I think you could pretty much use almost any kind of wood for this if you burn it the right way to build a fence like that. Now, this fence here is then built with hazelnut, and you see that's obviously gonna turn old, and it's gonna break real easily. So you obviously can think about what can I do there to make it last longer and so on. But that will be a different video. Today was just about this alternative for pressure treated wood. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next video.